Greetings from Washington, D.C. My name is Pallav, and I'm going to talk about the confluence of alternatives and Indian initiative. The need for synergy between resistance and alternatives is crucial to effecting structural change, given the entrenched interests and substantial forces supporting the status quo. It's not surprising that the purpose and integrity of protest movements are challenged and subverted by the establishment on the ruse that dissent exists merely in a comfortable ideological vacuum and lacks handle on the rigors of real life. And that conveniently becomes the dominant narrative perpetuated effectively by the corporate media. So, from the perspective of meaningful change, the most important question is, are contemporary movements being able to demonstrate that they are not merely questioning and protesting the existing structure, but also have a viable, well-thought-out alternative to offer? Moreover, is that alternative already in action in some form, and in fact showing promise for larger replication? As my colleague and the noted Indian environmentalist Ashish Kothari has said, no resistance can win without an alternative vision. It's true that movements can periodically encroach upon the accumulated power of the ruling elite, but only an alternative way of thinking and being can ensure the reconfiguration of the ownership of capital and equitable distribution of power within the society. If change in the United States is crucial because it is the fountainhead of neoliberal free market fundamentalism, so is it important in a country like India because of the kind of disasters those policies are causing downstream in the developing world. Whether it's farmers' suicides because of the failure of genetically modified cotton, or the sprouting of unlivable urban ghettos as a result of incessant migrations from rural areas due to frequent droughts, or the worsening urban pollution in a country which has the dubious distinction of having 6 of the 10 most polluted cities in the world, or the weather patterns which are becoming increasingly erratic, unreliable, and often lethal because of climate change. The country seems to be hurtling ever forward towards ecological mayhem. Despite this bleak and overwhelming picture, however, there are significant efforts being made by the civil society in India to construct alternative paradigms and pathways towards a world that is sustainable, equitable, and just. These are frameworks and visions which aspire to bring together existing heritage of ideas and worldviews and cultures which still survive in the country, particularly amongst the indigenous community, with new progressive ideas and grassroots practice. Movement activists, academics, thinkers, and practitioners of alternatives, indigenous and rural communities, and artists and communicators are coming together in India in search of a just climate futures together. The Confluence of Alternatives, or Vikalp Sangam in Hindi, is a unique initiative to explore and understand alternative thinking and organizing on a large spectrum of economic, social, and environmental issues in India. The chief aim of the endeavor is to create a platform where alternatives which take the earth away from ecological self-destruction and the bitter calcification of economic inequality reach a large audience and become viable for discussion, analysis, and eventual replication in other places. Vikalp Sangam is a collaborative effort started in 2014 by 4 prominent Indian NGOs, Kalpavriksha, Bhumi, Shikshantar, and Deccan Development Society, which have been actively seeking solutions to environmental, developmental, and educational challenges confronting the country. In the last 3 years, the initiative has established an active website for dissemination of news and views on the alternatives issues and practices, and also held regional and subject-specific conclaves to bring thinkers and practitioners together to learn from each other and to further sharpen the debate. These conclaves offer a space for an exchange of ideas and experiences emerging from practice and thinking in a whole range of endeavor: sustainable agriculture and pastoralism, renewed energy, decentralized governance, community health, craft and art revival, multiple sexualities, inclusion of the differently abled, alternative learning and education, community-based conservation, decentralized water management, urban sustainability, gender and caste equality, and more. People practicing and conceiving some of the most amazing initiatives in the country have been able to get together and share. Beyond the sharing of practical experience, however, one of the most important outputs of the Vikalp Sangam process is a conceptual framework of transformative alternatives. This framework is constantly evolving after discussions on each Sangam, and several hundred representatives from the range of sectors mentioned above have debated the various aspects of the framework. Till now, 9 such conclaves have taken place all over India. 6 of them were region or state specific, giving the geographical vastness and ecological diversity present in the country. The other 3 focused on prominent issues facing the country: energy, food, and the issues of the youth. These Vikalp Sangam deliberations have resulted in the following 5 interconnected and overlapping spheres as the cornerstone of the exploration for alternatives. Ecological integrity and resilience. This includes the conservation of nature and natural diversity, maintenance of ecological functions, respect for ecological limits which extend from the local to the global, and ecological ethics in all human actions. Social well-being and justice, including physically, socially, culturally, and spiritually fulfilling lives, equity between communities and individuals, communal and ethnic harmony, and erasure of hierarchies and divisions based on faith, gender, caste, class, ethnicity, ability, and other attributes. Direct and delegated democracy, with decision-making starting in spaces enabling every person to participate meaningfully, and building from this to larger levels of governance by downwardly accountable institutions, in all these processes being intensely aware and respectful of the needs and rights of those currently marginalized. Economic democracy, in which local communities and individuals have control over the means of production, distribution, exchange, and markets based on the principle of localization for basic needs and trade built on this. Central to this would be the replacement of private property by the commons. And lastly, cultural diversity and knowledge democracy, with multiple coexisting knowledge systems in the commons, respect to a diversity of ways of living, ideas, and ideologies, and encouragement to creativity and innovation. For Vikalp Sangam framework, the center of human activity is neither the state nor the corporation, but the community, a self-defined collection of people with some strong, common, or cohesive social interest. The community could be of various forms, from the ancient village to the urban neighborhood to the student body of an institution to even the more virtual networks of common interest. The inputs coming to the Vikalp Sangam discussions are based on the alternatives experiments being conducted by organizations all over India in diverse fields. Consequently, there is lived experience which is guiding the process and not just wishful thinking, however sincere it might be. Let me give you an idea of the various areas of the Indian existence where these experiments are taking place. Alternative economies and technologies. These are initiatives that help to create alternatives to the dominant neoliberal or state-dominated economy and the logic of growth, such as localization and decentralization of basic needs towards self-reliance, respect to and support of diverse livelihoods, producer and consumer collectives, local currencies and trade, non-monetized and equal exchange, and the gift economy. Production based on ecological principles, innovative technologies that respect ecological and cultural integrity, and moving away from GDP-like indicators of well-being to more qualitative, human-scale ones. Alternative politics. Initiatives and approaches towards people-centered governance and decision making, including forms of direct democracy or the Gandhian idea of Swaraj in urban and rural areas. Linkages to these to each other in large and to each other in larger landscape, reimagining current political boundaries to make them more compatible with ecological and cultural contiguities, promotion of the non-party political process, methods of increasing accountability and transparency of the government and of political parties, and progressive policy frameworks. Energy. Initiatives that encourage alternatives to the current centralized, environmentally damaging, and unsustainable sources of energy. There is also equitable access to the power grid, including decentralized, community-run renewable sources and microgrids, equitable access to energy, promoting non-electric energy options such as passive heating and cooling, reducing wastage and transmission and use, putting caps and transmission and use, putting caps on demand, and advocating energy saving and efficient materials. Environment and ecology. These are initiatives that promote ecological sustainability, including community-led conservation of land, water, and biodiversity, eliminating or minimizing pollution and waste, reviving degraded ecosystems, creating awareness leading to greater respect for the sanctity of life and biodiversity of which humans are a part, and promoting ecological ethics. Livelihoods. Linked to the search for alternative localized economies, this includes initiatives for satisfying, dignified, and ecologically sustainable livelihoods and jobs. These could be a continuation and enhancement of fulfilling traditional occupations that communities choose to continue, including in agriculture, pastoralism, nomadism, forestry, fisheries, crafts, and others in the primary economy, or they could be jobs in manufacturing and service sectors that are ecologically sustainable and dignified. Food and water. Initiatives towards security and sovereignty over food and water by producing and making accessible, safe, and nutritious food, sustaining the diversity of Indian cuisine, ensuring community control over processes of food production and distribution, and commons from where uncultivated foods are obtained, promoting wild foods and uncultivated foods, making water storage a priority, use and distribution of decentralized, ecologically sustainable, efficient, and equitable producer-consumer links, advocating continuation of water as part of the commons, and promoting democratic governance of water and wetlands. The other prominent areas where similar experiments are taking place are health and hygiene, learning and education, settlements and transportation, and culture and media. A huge treasure trove of opinions, facts, theories, and data is emerging out of the various Vikalp Sangha conclaves and is helping the evolution of alternative thinking in India. It has initiated the process by which a fundamental and transformative systemic change could be introduced into the society for the construction of a new political economy that moves beyond both corporate capitalism and state socialism, and towards the creation of what we call radical ecological democracy based on climate justice, environmental sustainability, and socio-economic equality. Through the Vikalp Sangha process, we've been able to rigorously debate the idea of well-being, about secure ways of meeting basic needs, being healthy, having access to opportunities for learning, being employed in satisfactory and meaningful tasks, having good social relations, and leading culturally and spiritually fulfilling lives. There is no reason this has to be achieved through ecological devastation, and no reason why only some people get to enjoy it. Human well-being can be achieved without endangering the earth and without leaving behind half or more of humanity. Finally, we are also exploring the possibility of replicating the Vikalp Sangha model at an international level. We want to figure out how information on our process can be shared with academics and activists in North America, for instance, and also probe mechanisms by which the significant positives from India could be integrated into the American search for alternatives, and vice versa. We are committed and excited about our attempt at cooperation between academics, movement activists, and creative thinkers and practitioners of alternatives to challenge the ever-tightening grip of corporate fundamentalism on the economy and the environment. We sincerely believe in alternatives, and we will continue to move steadily in that direction.